Hi everyone, welcome to this 8th and last episode of our Helsinki Diplomatic sessions. I also want to welcome our 3 photographers. It's very nice to see you. Also, thank you for making time to do this with us today. I'll introduce myself maybe shortly. My name is Evelyn. I'm part of the Helsinki Photo Festival team. And Helsinki Photo Festival is an annual event that aims to bring photography back to the streets and also wants to give a platform for emerging artists to show their work for a broader audience. This year we've also done workshops and these webinars as well, in which we've invited artists from all around the world to present their works and talk about their methods. So I won't talk too much. We'll jump right in. We have Siri Ekker Svendsen from Norway today with us, Pflügler from Austria, and last but not least, Carla Kogelman from the Netherlands. And first up, Siri Ekker Svendsen will present her work. And I also won't try to introduce your work for you. I think you will be able to do that yourself and also much better than I will. So Siri, when you're ready, you can start sharing your presentation with us.
Okay. Does that work?
I don't see it yet. Yes, now it's there. You can, the stage is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Great. Hello, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Siri. I'm a visual artist based in Oslo, Norway. My work is based on photography, and I use a multitude of photographic tools. Analog, digital, mobile, X-rays, binoculars and telescopes, microscope and magnifying glass, flatbed scan, and electronic microscanning in collaboration with various scientific institutions. I regard these different mediums as several pairs of eyes, where each and every one represent a piece of reality, but only in the togetherness as a whole somehow. They have the ability to represent something greater than themselves, something vital and alive, and some maybe closer to the idea of truth somehow. My desire is to see my own works. I'm primarily concerned with the relationship between nature, human perception and consciousness, and the connection between animism, imagination, and recent research in biology. I examine these issues through motifs of various natural phenomena, like trees, plants, animals, and humans, often in a state of transformation or interaction somehow. Before I start to explain my latest project, I just want to say that some words on my background, like my desire to reveal the complex and invisible connections and patterns that pass between the human and other species within different levels of ecosystems. Animals, plants, and trees, like the human being, are subject to relentless natural conditions. And the organic life in the forest, cyclically and mutually connected, reflects the human vulnerability in the face of various dangers and transitions. I think that for me, other life form represents an opportunity to an alternative way of experiencing the world. And the close to supernatural qualities of certain animals, plants and fungi sometimes mirrors the old world mythologies. Myths and fairy tales often contains knowledge about the natural world around us that we maybe have forgotten. So in my work, I want to explore what happens when combining new research with old mythology, using, among other, angular camera and electron scanning microscope as tools of investigation. I'm aiming to create works that waver between the real and the fictitious, the visible and the invisible, and the documentary and the poetic. So in my work, which I'm going to present here, is called All the Whisperings of the World. I examine these visual connections between nature's complexity and vulnerability, and the bodily effect of an allergic shock based on the brassnut tree and the life-threatening allergy towards brassnuts. Through 2 journeys to the Amazon, one to Madre de Dios in Peru in 2016, and the other to Manaus in Brazil in 2018, and a collaboration with the University of Oslo, and borrowed appropriated microphotos from a research project on allergies at Uppsala University in Sweden. I have worked with the connections between the bodies and the forest ecology, and how all living things are part of complex ecological systems, including the human body. The work shows images from rainforest areas in South America where the brassnut grows, microscope images of the brassnut's interior, and body cells that have been destroyed due to allergic reactions, as well as appropriated images from scientific research material of the body flora and fauna. Through the electronic microscanner, the cells of the nut appear as semi-translucent spaces somehow, and the structure resembles a bird's eye view of the landscape. Brassnuts contain an allergen so powerful that even a small trace are potentially lethal to individuals as myself. Allergic reactions triggers the mast cells, which are components of the immune defense. When triggered in this way, they release large quantities of histamine into the surrounding tissue before dissolving themselves. In magnification, the collapsed cells looks like ruins. This photo and some others I use in the project are taken by Dr. Mats Block on the research study at Uppsala University. The work deals with spatial investigations of cells and rainforests and how the body is a link between the inner and the outer reality. A fragile connection emerges between the macro and the micro perspectives in the images. I think like a reminder of both the human body and nature are part of complex and diverse ecosystems where all parts are interdependent. With the ambiguity that may arise in compilation of images from different sources and with different perspectives, I want to explore the sense of loss we experience when natural environments are threatened, and the fear we experience as well when being endangered ourselves and forces us to confront our own mortality. The brassnut tree is a striking example of so-called mutualism, when 2 or more species in an ecosystem form a mutual cooperation for survival. It relies on a particular species of bee, a rare orchid, and some sort of specialized rodent to pollinate it and to spread its seeds. Outside this context, the tree cannot reproduce, and therefore it mainly bears fruit in untouched forests. It's something of a paradox that the species it depends on, as the brassnut tree is protected by law, but the species it depends on, it's not protected. So this mutual connection disappears when the brassnut tree is outside of its context somehow in the rainforest. The Madre de Dios region of the Amazon, which was the first place I visited, is thought to be one of the most species diverse rainforests in the world. Like many other parts of the Amazon, it's currently under threat from mining projects, road development, and illegal deforestation. And the biological diversity and complexity of this rainforest cannot be artificially reproduced. There is a picture of some deforested area of the rainforest. And you can see the road are going like lines in the landscape. And I think they call like the T system or something when the forest is cleared to make cultural land for agriculture and people to live and etc. Recent research shows that interactions between humans and the microbiota on our skin and in our gut are fundamental to the development of the immune system. The statement is that drastic changes in modern environments and lifestyles have led to an imbalance on this evolutionary aging process, which coincides with a sudden increase in human diseases such as autoimmune, allergic, and chronic inflammatory conditions. In the pictures, I focus on abstractions, visual connections, and associations, where the different size ratios are equated, so that the image of the inside of a cell is presented in the same size as a landscape seen from the plane. I want to contrast the measurable and the scientific with the bodily feeling of belonging to a larger context, like an ecosystem. Now I've been working with this project since the summer 2015, and this fall I'm going to finalize it somehow by making a book. And the book is going to be published at a publisher called Multipress, which is a artist book publisher here located in Oslo. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Siri. This was really a unique work and a unique collection of photographs. I also like how you revealed to us like how you perceive the world in a way. And I was wondering, so when you go out into the forest and you look for these patterns, do you already know beforehand what kind of things you're looking for? Or are these really spontaneous findings? And then also with, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, I interrupted you, but no, it's just like when I go there, it's for me, it's like a completely new environment. So going out there, I wasn't, prepared at all of what I was going to find or what was going to happen. So I just had to, take lots of pictures and take pictures I maybe never would have been doing at home or in familiar circumstances. So just afterwards, I'm getting this idea of, what I've actually been seeing, and the editing is very important in the process.
Okay. Yeah. So you kind of compile the collection afterwards and then see which patterns you can find out of the data you found.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also compare them with the different images that I get from the micro photography. Because there could be this kind of surprises that I can't, foresee or, know about beforehand. So it's all these things that just happened, during working with it. Lots of surprises.
And what also surprised me was that this was done in collaboration with universities and scientific research centers. Are they going to be using your photographs, or?
No, it was more like it started with me asking for help to have this electronic microscanning of inside the Brazil nut, and I send them some examples. and they were doing that job for me, and then they asked me if they could use the same, if I wanted to be part of a kind of a research project among the students, which they were going to find a new way, because they have different kinds of methods in the scanning process, and the one I've been using as a start went well, and then they wanted to try it with another method, which was a bit more complicated. And since the breast milk contains so much fat, it's very, unstable in a scientific project of the kind. So we wanted to test it out like a student program, and using a totally different method that would have been costing a lot of money, and I could never, afford to go through it on my own. So then there was a part of this project, and I was trying it out like an example, and I could use the images they got from the from that research into my project afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to ask you some more questions, but I think we're running out of time. But thank you so much for your presentation, and also for making time to do this with us today.
Yes. Thank you too.
Yes, and we're back. This time it's with Peter Pflügler from Austria. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So your work seems a very personal one. So I don't even want to introduce it. I think you will do that yourself. So when you're ready, you can share your presentation with us.
All right. Yes, I'm ready. Okay, so just as a starting point, so my name is Peter Pflügler. I'm from Austria, but I was based in the Netherlands for the last 4 years because of my studies. And during that period of time, I worked on this project that I'm presenting right now with the title, Now is Not the Right Time. And as you already have mentioned, it is indeed a very personal project. It deals with family secrets, intergenerational trauma, and the silence surrounding these two. So yeah, let's jump into it. So basically, with the first slide, I'm sharing, let's say, my family's trauma, my family's secret. Because when I was 2 years old, my father went into the woods with the intention of never coming back. And this suicide attempt, in a way, haunted my history, my growing up, and the history of my family, but not as an not as an event, but as a secret. So. Basically, I didn't know about this suicidal attempt for the next 20 years. So only when I was grown up, finally, my parents revealed this to me. But growing up, I was always struggling with weird sensations, with a sensing of something that I could not put into context. Let's say I was drawn to certain places where I didn't know why. When I found out later, it was the place where everything happened. Every year during a certain period of time, my kind of my sadness, my grief grew really strong, and I never understood why. And then later on, it turned out to be the date where everything happened. So in a way, when I started with this project, for me, it was important that I'm not talking about an event which happened to be, in my case, a suicidal attempt of my father, but I was talking about the process of growing up, being faced with an unexplainable structure. So basically, I wanted to talk about a secret and the influences on a secret, which are out of the control of the people who decide on this silence. So it's I have to say that when it took me quite a long time to decide to actually work on this project. Obviously, I didn't know how to handle this. The fact that it's such a personal topic, that it's about myself, about my family, how much of this story am I going to expose, how much of the pain, how much of the love, all these kind of things were big questions for me. So what I'm trying to do now is like walk you through a little bit of my process of the last years, how I finally found a kind of method to work on this personal project. This is my father here, and this is also a picture that's shows the kind of first step in the process, which is almost always with me observing and capturing what's there, and then just looking at what I have and trying to understand if there is something I can work with. So basically, let's say observative documentary photography. I go with my father into the woods. I take a picture of him. I spend some time with him in the garden. I take pictures. But then, of course, this can only be a starting point, because once you're documenting something which is in the present, it's very hard to talk, to make kind of this leap into the past. And I found myself starting to interfere a little bit with the reality that I was photographing. So I directed my father. I asked him to stand somewhere. I tried to interfere a little bit in these daily life situations. But this was also not enough for me. So I kind of tried to understand what are these traces. So which part of this secret, which was revealed now more than 10 years ago, which parts of the secrets are actually still in the present? So what are the traces of this secret? And then I focused on these traces, which I defined for myself. For example, the body. So the body of my father. It's like obviously the most important trace. I started also to include, let's say, as my mom, as a witness, as a part of the secret, and as a gatekeeper of the secret. But then I also tried to find metaphors. So this picture here really changed the way I photographed, because I understood that since I'm talking about such a complex topic, I need to also let this complexity and this secrecy be part of the experience of the viewer. So I started to kind of try to stage and create images which gives the viewer hopefully a kind of sense of what is going on without actually revealing what is going on. So basically, I try to put the audience in the shoes of me growing up, not knowing what's going on, but still sensing that something is going on or did go on. And with this picture, this kind of it's for me also the key image now of the whole project, and it pathed the way into a more associative and like say evocative way of photographing and trying to play with the perception of the audience. So I started to photograph atmospheres. I started to photograph in a way, to atmospheric way, to create some reaction in the viewer. But then this approach is also it's nice. I love it a lot. It's also nice to make this kind of images, but at the same time it's quite limited. You know, you start to end with a project full of nice atmospheric images, and then you ask yourself, okay, but what am I actually doing here? I'm just recreating some mystery, and that's it. And it's part of it, but for me, it's also really important to break the silence and to share my story. So it could not be enough to simply recreate a secret. I started to. This is also another trace that I still wanted to show. So this is the place where it happened. So this the woods and the cross and this place became a I photographed a lot there. And talking about the woods, it became kind of this red thread through the project of how the wood, how the forest actually comes into our home, and it comes into the domestic space. And even though my parents tried to keep it out, this dark secret, for me, the forest somehow always went into our family, into our home, into our daily life. So this is why I found these metaphors often related to woods, to forests, and how it interferes with the domestic space. And this is also became for example, an important picture for this part of the project. During working at home, and actually when COVID came, it was quite good for me because I was able to stay at my parents' place where I grew up for a very, very long time and worked there a lot. So it really helped me. And then I found out that actually my nephew was in the same age as I was when the incident happened. So in a way, I found him to be my stand-in, and I also included him in this project with these images. For me, then, as I said before, like it was very important that I don't stop with the traces, and that I don't stop with the mystery, but that I actually share my experience and the complexity of my feelings, because on one hand, I was I grew up in a loving family, and it still is a really functioning, loving family. But on the other hand, there is a lot of anger in me that my parents didn't decide to tell me earlier when they saw me suffering that much, and they kind of didn't decide to share their secret with me, which could have helped me so much understanding where everything comes from. Because once you don't have the information where all this grief or these feelings come, you will always look inside yourself and you think you're broken and something is wrong with you. So once I knew, everything was way easier for me. my second life started. So that is why I started also to include text, and I started to include documents that I found. So diary entries of my sister when she found out, of my grandma from that time. And I tried to find sentences that relate to how I experienced this secret and everything surrounding. In the end, I found that the medium of the photo book could be the best way to tie all these elements together. I created this dummy with Sip, an amazing designer in the Netherlands, and we tried to find a way to both include the secrecy and the mystery, but then also share the whole context, share the whole story, share the whole picture. And the way we deal with this, I can show here a little bit. So in a way, the book is on one hand a classical photo book, so you can flip through the pages, But then at the same time, you will find out that in certain pages there is text included. So in the first, maybe you won't see that the first time when you flip through the book, you will see just a nice, hopefully nice photo book. But then once you go through it again, you can really dive into the story of my family, dive into this secret, and hopefully in this way, you can on one hand feel what I felt with the sensation. These are the images, but then also understand the whole story and how everything turned out to be. So with the project, I'm still working a little bit on it, but it's in the final stages, especially with this book as well. And I also found out for myself that on one hand, I always said this is not a project for myself; it's also for the others, only for the others at the beginning. But I found out that this is like it became everything. It became a part therapeutic project for me and my family and my parents. But at the same time, by doing so and trying to be like really honest about our story, because of that, I hope that it becomes also an inspiration for others to look at their family history and to maybe look a little closer and maybe even talk about it. So I also want to kind of with my work a little bit share my view, which is that way more damage in a way is done by not talking about the dark spots in our family history than it is with oversharing. Of course, you always have to be careful, but we tend to be over careful, or we tend to, save ourselves or more than the other by not talking about it. So in a way, I want to share that we should dare to look at the dark spots and dare to speak up. And related to the title of my project, there is never a right time for this. Like every time is possible and a possible right time. So yeah, thank you very much. This is my presentation, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story first. And then also, thank you for talking us through your very diverse collection of pictures. I saw them myself in the exhibitions, and they're very, very nice. I was, because the theme of this festival is fearless, and in like the finalists of the open call, there are some other works as well that deal with the past, and that state, like you said, that like it kind of requires you to be fearless to go into the past, because it can be a dark space. And you said something about the past can be like these dark spots, and you have to look into them. But then I also felt like some of those works, and maybe yours as well, that's going to be my question, whether looking into the past and kind of coming to terms with it makes you fearless as well. So I was wondering, what impact did this project have on you, and how did you come out of it afterwards?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I can really say that if I look back at how I started, like my whole approach there was basically extremely limited. So I tried to be I tried to be the photographer as an investigator, as if it would not be my story. I tried to look at this personal story as an outsider, and obviously I did this because I was afraid. I was afraid if I would look at it from the perspective of the son, of someone who suffered because of that, that I wouldn't be able to work on it. So basically, it was very important to start like that, in order, as you said, during the course of the work, then to lose the fear, to accept the fact that it is a personal project, and it will it will do something with me. It will change the way I look at our history. It will change the way we I will talk with my family about it. I mean, my parents come to the exhibition. You know, this is my graduation work. I show it publicly. It's very vulnerable in a way. I'm sharing all this information, but at the same time, this helps us, you know, to deal with it better, to have something concrete to hold on to talk about, to be, and then yeah, exactly, because of this working, I lost this fear that I had at the beginning, definitely.
Okay. And then you also said that you kind of wanted to make the people, or like your audience, experience what you experienced yourself. So I was wondering how the audience actually received your work and what kind of reactions that you got of it.
Yeah, it's very diverse, I have to say. It's really, it's quite interesting for me because I had like very emotional encounters where there's maybe a similar story involved and you connect immediately, and it's crazy how easily you can talk about intense things once you are in the safe space of art, you know, about talking about the project. Suddenly you're not talking only about the project anymore, but about something personal, and it works perfectly. It's very safe and easy. So art and can be like a safe space to do that. So there's a lot of this kind of reaction, but it can also be some people come to me and they see a lot of humor in this, you know, in this kind of like abstract way, how I place things in a different way. And I also, you know, I chose not to use a very dark image language. Like everything is very bright, everything is quite colorful. So I try to, since everything was packed in love, I'm not going to show only the darkness. The darkness is hidden, so the darkness needs also in the image just to be there to sense, but not the main thing. So if people can also decide themselves if they want to sense this darkness or not. So I had really very different reactions.
Okay, yeah, because when I saw your work, the first time I also didn't read the text right away, and I didn't really associate it at first, but now I'm very happy that I heard your presentation. And also I like the fact that you made it so metaphorical and abstract, because indeed, like especially the ones with the forest, the door with the logs, and then the other one where you had the shadow of the branches, that kind of, it was a bit haunting as well.
Yeah.
Those especially, although they can also be seen as very beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like this complexity, and even if it's crashing, I mean, it's good to hear that you experience it that way.
Yeah. Did you like? How long did your project take to make? How long was the process?
I would say the longest process was the decision to do it. So this took me like, I don't know, like I would say 4 or 5 years. But then I started to photograph around 4 years. But then in the end, like the real production phase where I found a language how to do it was like the last 2 years, I would say.
And during those 4 years, did you know what kind of images you wanted to create, or did they come into being a bit in a spontaneous way?
No, this was like at the beginning, not at all. You know, that's what I mentioned in the presentation, how I started with these observations. This was my entry point. And with the observation, it's easy because you don't really put so much pressure on yourself. Like you allow yourself just to document, and this is a good starting point because we are also critical to, or many of us, and me included, very critical to what you produce, and I need to trick myself, and by taking away this the pressure of making the best images ever, it really helps me to find a different entry point. So it's always starting point, documenting, and then things happen. Like this image that I mentioned with the chair, where I'm balancing. This was just an idea for me to how can I visualize the balancing act of a secret. So I never thought with this image that it can somehow relate to suicide at all. It was not in my thoughts at all. Then the image is there. I think it's about balance, and everyone tells me, "Oh my God, this is about hanging in the tree," and I'm like, "Oh, whoa, yeah, actually, yes, it is." So things just happen, and I take these accidents and embrace them because it's beautiful.
Yeah. Did some of the images over the years change for you? Like the meaning of them?
Yes, very much. Like this one was a good example, but it changed fast. But then also there are a lot of images. The one where I put the flowers on my eyes, for example.
Yeah.
Of the archival images. I thought this is it. I thought this is my image, that how I will work on it. And now I still like to include it because it was important for me to do this image, but it doesn't really have a place in my project anymore. So it also, I discard it in a way for my project where it is right now, but I hold it dearly because it was such an important picture in my process.
Yeah. So you were talking also about your book. Is it out already, or
no? I'm looking for a publisher. I'm looking for financings. I will do a crowdfunding. So if any publisher out there, anyone with much money, just contact me, and we make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you already have some ideas for future projects now, or are you still very much into this one?
Oh wow, yeah, no, I need to wrap this up, and I know that this, I know my topics, I know what I'm interested in. I know it's about it's always about silence. It's about hiding. It's about how we are. Yeah, it's about what we share when we hide. That's what I want to work on, and there is a lot outside my family that I can work on with this kind of topic.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your presentation. We'll see you again at the end of the next presentation, and then we'll open the floor to everyone to ask some questions. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, and then we're back again. This time on the stage is Carla Kogelman from the Netherlands. Hello, Carla.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's nice to see the common theme in both presentations, which is wood, actually, and I think it's really nice. And I'm very curious to know where Peter is raised, because one of my most well-known projects is still staged in Austria, in the Waldviertel. And I just came back from a 4-week trip to Austria, and he's in Holland, I think. So it's nice to all those crossing overs, actually.
Yeah. Well, after your presentation, you guys get to come together. So be sure to remember those.
Yeah.
So you also have a very personal project?
I think
sorry. No, yeah, it's called Day 293, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and I'll give the word to you.
Okay.
It's your presentation. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. You can. I was raised in a small village in the eastern part of Holland. And when I was 2, my father got a car accident, and my sister got killed, and he was mentally handicapped, and that was quite a big scarf to my childhood. He was aggressive. He was well, he wasn't the father to me, actually. So the work I was just referring to, the Waldviertel work, which I've been doing for the last 9-10 years now, is about creating a childhood I wanted to have but did not have. When I was 18, I left home and I studied to be a social worker with kids. In the end, I ended up having a theater agency for 25 years. And in 2011, exactly 10 years ago, I graduated from the Photo Academy Amsterdam as a documentary and portrait photographer. And all my projects, mostly the long-term projects since then, have been quite personal. I graduated with a story on my nephews, on Novella, a girl who was 8 at that time and who just came to visit me for 10 days in Waldviertel to have her holidays. And that's now she's 20 actually. So sometimes my the projects and the themes of the projects I choose and the projects who choose me start crossing over to each other actually. The project I sent into Helsinki is also a personal project. It's about my brother, Henry. Just a year ago, he and my other brother had a rare blood disease, and Henry found out that he has 2 sons of 16 and 19, that he was kind of getting tired, and that there was actually only one solution which could help him, that was to have stem cell transplantation. So the first image, if you can show it, Laura, is the first day in the hospital in Amsterdam, where he got all the PICC lines for all the treatments he got. And actually the whole project, in the beginning there was only COVID in China, but there was no COVID in Holland. But when he came out, there was Corona and COVID everywhere. And this was after he didn't have leukemia, by the way, but he had a very rare blood disease. But he got the same treatment as leukemia. So he got all the tough chemos, treatments, and well, when he came out of the hospital after a month, then there was suddenly Corona in Amsterdam, and with 2 youngsters, pubers or adolescents in the house, he was just too scared to be at home actually, and because he was so vulnerable and he didn't have any resistance anymore, all his childhood injections were gone, and well, he had to find a way to not put his kids on the chain, but to get his own energy back. So he decided to call me if he could use me as a safe house. And he came to my house, I think it was early April, and he returned to his own home by the middle of, I think it was after 7 weeks. And it's the picture outside my house, where he was doing his daily phone call with his home and having his coffee. And all the weeks he stayed with me, the whole COVID situation was, of course, tricky. I was protecting him. He was, if you see the next 2 images, he had to protect his skin, his head. He was very anxious of getting a disease called graft versus host, a kind of skin disease. The next picture you see that's the closest he got with his family and with his dog. Actually, he didn't allow them to touch him in another way. The next image you see is where he's starting to, outside my house in the garden. He still didn't know that it was not okay for him to have the sun. He started to do his exercises because he wanted to get more strength. And I think it was in the, after 7 weeks, so in the end of May, when he returned home again. The next image is one of the last images from the first lockdown in Holland, where he got his hair already back. And in Holland, the summer, last summer 2000 was, I'm starting to, then summer 2000, I think Corona is taking over again. And after the summer, the situation got worse after not this summer, but last summer. And the first weeks he stayed with my older brother, but then they couldn't get along. And he asked me again if he could stay in my house. And that was actually day 293, because the day you got your your stem cell transplantation, they call it day 0, as if you are newborn. The next photo, please, is how his biggest fear, he received this, he thought it was awful. I thought as a photographer it was quite interesting or intriguing, actually, as well as the next images. In the second period, he stayed with me from mid-November, and he left for home at 1st of May this year, actually, after he given himself every day a boost. Like in wintertime, it was, for the week, it was snowing in Holland, and he was taking snow showers and every day, and I even found him a rugby pitch in Amersfoort, where he was happily, what he was happily using, actually. And due to a post I made on social media, he got his first, because he was very eager to have his vaccination. But that was quite difficult in the beginning. And in the end, due to a post on social media, he got his first vaccination and his second vaccination. And 2 days after he got home, he, because he was been living with his kids and his partner for 23 years, he asked her to marry him. So that was quite surprising to me. And I just spoke to him this morning, and he's still doing his exercises, but he's doing fine. He now has his checkup every 6 weeks instead of every week. So he's, I think he's doing great. Another thing, what was really nice for me, which is also personal, and that the period when he was with me, my youngest brother got was admitted to the emergency of a hospital in the eastern part of Holland. And after 25 days, we, on the IC, on the emergency care team, we had to let him go. And all that periods of me being the contact person and calling twice a day, I could do it with the support of my other brother, actually. Most of my work is I think about growing up, identity, being strong, showing the strength of people. That's it.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for sharing also your story with us and your brother's story. I actually wanted to ask you about something that you said at the very start of your presentation, which is you said the projects I choose, or better, the projects that choose me. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that saying.
Well, I was in 2012. I got the assignment to make a documentary on the Waldviertel in Austria, and that was only actually for that year. But the story I found there was so interesting that, well, I'm still working on that story, and the kids who were then 6 and 8 are now 15 and 18, and through them I meet all kinds of other interesting stories. When I was in Austria last month, I also visited another farmer who moved to another region, the Weinviertel, and I stayed at her farm for a couple of days, and she told me, "Oh, tomorrow morning there will be we will shoot a cow, and it will be done very friendly. And if you want to be there, you can be there, and you can photograph also the killing of the cow and how the people take after, use it, and how they." And I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't like red meat. But this was quite. And in order to not. Sometimes my stories need some how to say it, some time to just I need to breathe on them. Actually, I need to let them go for some weeks, and then have a new fresh mind and see it, and then this is what I wanted to show, or this is what is interesting, because after a while the first impression, or the first connection is losing interest, and then it's more a universal picture which lasts, actually. And I'm more interested in bringing over an emotion than simply, this is it. I'm not interested in showing how Wolfgang is stripping the cow or is stripping Lana. I'm more interested in showing how carefully he does it and with what kind of love he does it. And that needs time for him, but it also needs time for me. And also staying with this new family, it's like trying to blend in with their habits and with because I'm not only a fly on the wall, but I'm acting with the children, or I'm part of the situation.
Is that something that also happened with the project that you were presenting today, so that you kind of had to leave it for a while and then come back to it?
Well, in the beginning it were two separate projects, actually, and I think the project continued because, of course, I wanted to show his vaccination and his. But that was after the deadline of the Helsinki Photo Festival. So it's. I think with timing is a good way to chew on a project.
Yeah, that's true. Then suddenly you can see it in a new light sometimes.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Because I am sometimes too personal, and I sometimes need, even when I take pictures, I need to take more distance. Otherwise, you don't get the overview, and the overview is also important.
Yeah, that's true. Then you can tell the story probably better. Yeah. I was also wondering, you said that you wanted to document the strength of others, but I feel like by taking projects on like this, you're also showing your own strength. And what do you agree with my thought process?
I had a family I followed for 10 years now in Austria. If you look at that project, you don't see because the parents got divorced. You don't see that, because that's not something I want to show. I want to show what's important to me, or where I want to highlight it, actually. And maybe it's my own, because I wanted to. I want the story to succeed, and I want to transmit it, and I hope that, for instance, the story of Siri gets a bigger acknowledged, because it's important to show how things work if you mistreat your nature and if you mistreat your surroundings, and how it affects Peter if he's been. It makes me angry that he's heard it only when he was 20. That his father. There was such a big impact on his life actually, and that's what I found really interesting. That when the cow got killed last week or 2 weeks ago, Arthur, the kid of 3 here, was there because he was there for many times already. So they don't shut out their kids. They involve them in their. That's what I like and appreciate.
Yeah, so images are very powerful. They can really give a message over to others.
Yeah, and sometimes it's
100% about Siri's work. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, if I would choose one picture out of this project, it would probably be and then it would be 2. Then it would be him standing outside in my garden doing his exercises, or the strange image of the snow showering. So in how few images can you tell a story, or can you transmit a content or a feeling?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thank you very much. I now want to invite Peter back to the stage, actually. So, Carla, you already had a question ready for him. Go ahead. You can ask it now.
Actually, I'm really, really close to Waldviertel, so I'm like, I'm in the same Bundesland, so I'm in the between Weinviertel and Industrieviertel. So I know this area, and I will check out this project. I'm really curious.
Yeah. Because the trees are hurting themselves as well in Waldviertel. There has been a lot of small insects cutting down the trees. So it's not only the people who are hurting, but also the trees are killing themselves. Yeah.
It's funny how because I'm, as you said, like I'm based in the Netherlands and Austria, like I'm going back and forth. You do the same.
Yeah, but the other way
we
around.
meet here.
Yeah.
Nice. And beautiful project, beautiful work.
And I can see how big of an impact it is on your career, actually, or on not your career, but your life. If something like that is happening in your, reveals itself, and that I think then that photography is a very nice tool to invest it and to make it a personal project, actually.
Yeah, I think it's the reason why I started creating in general. So I was quite on a journey until I arrived in photography. So I started to write. So I worked a lot with text, and I used to be a dancer. I put a lot of effort in creating with my body, and then I arrived somehow in the visual. So I did more film, time-based medium, video. And now I arrived in photography, where I love and hate its limitation, and that it's not time-based, or only in a limited way. But I think, as I said, it's actually the reason why I create this story.
Yeah.
So Carla, you were wondering how? Oh no, sorry, you already answered this right now. I'm sorry. I was like thinking, oh, I should ask this question for Carla, but you did answer it already. Peter, do you have a question for Carla?
Yeah,
about her work?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how you deal with this. I don't know if you have, obviously working on a sensitive project and with a personal and so close to someone, you will always kind of come to this point. Will I take this photograph, or if I took it, will I show it? Will I ask for permission first or afterwards? Like all these ethics about how to photograph pain or this kind of thing, and especially since you're also so close to your brother. Sometimes for example, sometimes my parents, they give me the allowance to do whatever I want to do, but at the same time, I feel it comes from a place of guilt, and then I kind of, I'm in a bit of a difficult situation how to how to deal with this. So I wanted to ask if you also have this kind of thoughts.
My whole life I photographed the kids, the two kids of my brother actually, but when they were at the age of like 14, 15, 16, they were more interested in showing the pictures they liked, the selfies and the social media posts. And now I can take the pictures of my nephews again because they have gone beyond that point. And well, people, it's actually if people ask me, but what do you want to achieve with the picture? I said, well, I want to win a contest. I want to win the national contest. I want to win the World Press Photo. I want to win this. I want to win that. And sometimes I'm succeeding in that as well. And so people know that if I'm taking a picture of them, it can be published actually. But it's a difference if it's a documentary publication or economical or merchandise publication actually. And I was actually surprised that my brother allowed me to shoot him, to photograph him. And actually he was very proud. And for him, it was as well a way to show his vulnerability and to show his strength. And so I did not send him all the pictures in advance, actually. My sister-in-law, she said, oh, his underpants, it's not the best underpants he's wearing at that time, but I don't want to show only good pictures, actually. I want to show the whole circle of it. And of course, sometimes people, even in Austria, even in the Waldviertel, the moment I started the conversations with Sonja, the mother of Hannah and Elena. She was very interested of me taking pictures of her kids and showing it around. But some of the people living in Merkenbrechts, they were not so happy of it. So then I tried to avoid them in my pictures. And it's also that if I take pictures, I want to take a good picture as well, because I pretend I'm a professional. So I have to give them a good picture as well. Last week I won. I was at the long list of a Dutch national portrait contest with a picture of my other brother who. It's quite an intense picture, and I didn't even tell my other siblings, my brother and my sister, that I sent this one in, because it was just 2 minutes before I got the news that he could not be, he could not help me, he could not be better anymore. So it was quite, with all the tubes, but in a beautiful light. And for me, it's a way of dealing with my situation as well. And especially if you shoot children, you always have to be aware of what you do with the picture and where you present it, because I can take a lot of pictures of naked children or half-naked children, but I don't show them on the internet or on social media, because I know they won't stand there very long. Even though a kid's body can be as nice as an adult's body, but and sometimes you don't even have to show a person's face to see who it is actually. So it's tricky always, whether it's a commercial or a documentary or a journalistic intent.
All right, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to close the webinar off here because we're running out of time. I've said thank you already, I think 10 times during this presentation, but I'll say it again. First to you. Thank you for showing your presentation, talking about your work. It was very, very nice that you shared your personal stories with us. And then I also want to say thank you to Laura, because Laura, she asked me not to do this, but she produced all of these webinars and she did an amazing job. So big applause for her. Also to my other colleague, Svenja, who was always here to support us, and of course to the artistic director Rafael for making all of this happen. So this was the last of our webinars, and I think we had a very good run. And if people want to see them again, they're always available on our YouTube account and also our other social media. And all the rest of the information about our festival is also always available on our social networks. And our festival runs still until the 30th of this month. So if anyone in Helsinki has not seen it yet, they should go because it's really worth it. So thank you so much, and have a very nice evening still, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.